And our last but not least presentation of the day, Leveling Up Educational Games, the view from an archaeologist turned indie game developer. Dr. Karen Wehner.
Is it? Oh, that's very small. Okay. All right. Hey, everybody. So I'm Karen Wehner. As you've heard, I'm an archaeologist. I have a PhD in anthropology, and I spent 15 years in higher education teaching and doing research. And I recently founded an independent game studio, Thunder Snow Media, with the mission of using story and play to engage, enlighten, and empower younger kids to make a difference in their worlds. Anyone here ever want to be an archaeologist when they grew up? Oh, there's always a few, yes. Game designer. Yeah, well, if I could do both, so can you. Okay, great. So the really big question I'm going to dance around really briefly today is, can educational games be fun? No pretense of depth or nuance. That's the invocation of the protection of the lightning talk, but I would love to speak more about all of these issues with anybody who wants to catch up with me another time. But just the key point I really want to make here is that I really believe the natural venue for great educational games is not in classrooms. It's really where kids do most of their gaming elsewhere. And I think indies are in the best position to make those games. So let's take a quick look at today's classrooms to see why. So this pretty much sums up education in America today. It's a relic of the industrial era. The current system was created to instill obedience, accuracy, and efficiency to train future factory workers. Fear of failure is baked right in, as students are drilled and grilled until they can reliably produce correct answers on the tests. But recently this machine failed, and our global education rankings have pretty much plummeted in this country, much to everyone's concern. Out of 40 developed nations, the US now ranks 17th overall, and 34th in math and science. So government bodies and top thinkers educationally, they're scrambling. And they have found hundreds of millions of dollars to throw at this problem, largely focused on, oh, my GIF didn't work anyway. It's supposed to be a head plant anyway. It's all focused on creating more standards and more tests. Yeah. So at the same time, growing research is also showing us how kids learn best. It's when they're actively engaged in their own learning. It's when they're building skills to meet the challenges they don't even know they're going to face yet. Not memorizing information fed to them so they can spew it back in little ovals with a number 2 pencil. You know, it sounds like a natural job for games, right? Bringing education forward. Yeah, and most people agree who are involved in this debate that technology, including games, has a natural role to play in educational reform. But the problem is, despite lots of positive debate, no one's really figured out yet how to use technology to transform learning rather than to just apply same old methods in new ways. I mean, it's all a massive undertaking, to be fair. It's going to take time, maybe a generation's worth of time. And right now, educational games are really caught in this glacial shift between 19th and 21st century learning systems. And all good intentions and many truly great teachers aside, in today's classrooms that are focused on assessments and test preparation, what makes it through the standards gauntlets are digital version of skill and drill, draped in game mechanics that are somehow supposed to make it all fun. So, that doesn't mean that we have to wait for education to catch up to the 21st century to make fun educational games. We can make them now. I mean, come on, we know what kids like to play. We know how they like to play, many hours a day in some cases. I mean, this is an enormous lost opportunity, in my view, both for our kids and for us as game makers. And at the risk of oversimplifying, I think it actually is really so much simpler than we all realize. We just need to make games that fill those hours of leisure play some of the most enriching and educational out there. And we need to make educational games more like these games. So it's been done before, for sure. There's some great games, really fun games that have been wildly popular with kids and praised for their sometimes, unintended educational value. These are games built around subject matter that excites minds and piques interest in new subjects, all just a bonus side effect of many, many happy hours spent playing them. So how do we do this? I'm not saying it's easy, but I think it's easier than we think. We do it by meeting kids where they are already, spending so much of their free time and their own money on games. We do it by wrapping educational content around fun and familiar game mechanics that we know they like to play and that they play already. We don't need to necessarily reinvent the wheel. I know that's not the most standard indie ethos, but I really believe if something works, work with it, go with it. So those popular games I just showed, they run the gamut from casual to hardcore. I realize they're very diverse, but they're all instructive to us. They all have key elements that we can include in educational games to make them more fun. So we can try to create an inviting world and give players the freedom to explore it and the power to shape it to reflect their vision of how they want that world to function. We can reward casual as well as deep engagement. Mini games and casual customization activities, kids love that, and they can take it in small bites. We can spin a story to tie it all together, something that really invites players to invest in a game world. In other words, we can forget the educational stuff at first. We can figure out what we're going to do to make this thing fun, and then the rest will follow. So these ideas shape the Time Tribe, which is our own offering, Thundersnow's first offering for the home education market. It's a time travel adventure game. It's based on real history and archaeology, but the core mechanic is an interactive story that players dive right into through role play and exploration. It wraps the facts of world history and other cultures into this deep story, but also into casual game formats such as collection and customization. Now, your kid plays Club Penguin. They're going to be collecting pink wigs for their avatar and purple sofas. Well, in the Time Tribe, they're decorating their personal museum gallery with Ming vases, Inca masks, and Egyptian camel saddles, if they like. I'm not claiming this is the perfect solution by any means, but we do know from our current experience with testing in beta and now we're live, it appeals to kids in instinctive ways as fun, and it keeps them there long enough for the desired curiosity to spark. So I'll leave you with thoughts inspired by Indiana Jones, by far the ultimate indie of archaeologists, to be sure. But yeah, Indiana Jones, great. As good as any advisor as we're embarking on this adventure of making educational games that just don't stink. Thank you.